Today, U.S. and Iranian officials are holding talks in Geneva as America stands at the brink of another potential conflict in the Middle East. Earlier this week, Senate leaders and I met with Secretary Rubio, and everyone is asking what the plan is with respect to Iran. And we're all looking for answers that the administration has refused to give. The issues we discussed in our classified briefing were very serious, and the American people deserve to hear it directly from the President and his administration. The administration should come clean and tell the American people exactly what the goal is in Iran. I've always said that confronting Iran and halting its nuclear ambitions requires a strategy, clarity, transparency. But thus far, we're getting none of that from the administration. The American people deserve answers.
Hello and welcome, guys. Adam speaking. So this is happening right now. The moment the House locked impeachment into the congressional record at 8:45, the Senate immediately moved, revealing this wasn't a reaction, but a pre-coordinated plan that had been waiting for exactly that trigger.
So look, right now we're staring down the barrel at two crises at once. A healthcare crisis and a hunger crisis, and both are caused by one man, Donald Trump. We're now 3 days from open enrollment. Today, the window shopping begins. People are going to see drastic increases in their health care costs. People are going to sit at the dinner table Friday night with a hole in the pit of their stomach and saying, how are we going to do this? We can't afford another $4,000 or $5,000 a year, $10,000, even $20,000 in some cases for health care. How are we going to do without health care, but how are we going to pay for health care? And now, for the first time in history, a president, Donald Trump, is refusing to fund SNAP during a shutdown.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer stepped forward, flanked by a staggering 18 Republican defectors. Together, they introduced a fast-track resolution, not a press release, not a statement, a formal resolution on the floor of the United States Senate, demanding the president's immediate resignation or the invocation of the 25th Amendment. And the language inside that resolution was unlike anything we have ever seen.
The reprehensible acts yesterday were incited by the President of the United States. Yesterday's events would not have happened without him. If there were no President Trump, this would not have happened, plain and simple. The fish stinks from the head, plain and simple. And so I believe the president is dangerous and should not hold office one day longer. He may have only 13 days left as president, but yesterday demonstrated that each and every one of those days is a threat to democracy so long as he is in power. The quickest and most effective way to remove this president from office would be for the vice president to immediately invoke the 25th Amendment.
It cited incapacitation by war crimes and mental collapse. Those exact words, in a formal Senate document, signed by 18 Republicans, including Mitt Romney and Lisa Murkowski, within hours of the House impeachment vote. And the resolution went further. It referenced specific federal statutes, Iran perjury under Title 18, obstruction tied to the Epstein case, and more than $12 billion in unauthorized military strikes. It called directly on Vice President Vance and the cabinet majority to formally declare the president unfit under the 25th Amendment. A Senate resolution naming the vice president, demanding he use the constitutional mechanism designed to remove a president who cannot serve, and 18 Republican senators put their names on it. Think about the weight of that. Romney, Murkowski, 16 others, their names attached to a document calling their own president incapacitated by war crimes and mental collapse. And on the same night, D.C. marshals were staged outside the White House. 14 cabinet secretaries were reportedly already signed onto the 25th Amendment Declaration. 75,000 people were in the streets. Oil prices had spiked to over $115 a barrel. Gas riots were breaking out at $7.15 a gallon. The Senate trial was set for just days away, and the odds of the president seeing federal prison time had hit 97%. Are you kidding me? In the middle of all of this, the president filmed a video from Mar-a-Lago. It was erratic. It was visibly unsteady. It racked up 15 million views in the first hour, and his message was simple: never surrender. Delivered on camera, in direct violation of a gag order already in his case file. While D.C. marshals were staging an arrest outside, while 18 Republican senators were on the Senate floor calling him incapacitated, while 14 cabinet members were reportedly ready to remove him through the 25th Amendment, while 97% of the people betting on outcomes had already decided how this ends: never surrender. With the marshals outside, with the contempt warrant already issued from an earlier Truth Social violation, with the video itself potentially generating a second contempt action before the night was over. This is the complete picture of a presidency in its final hours, and the final hours are right now. Let's break down what the Senate resolution actually does. The 18 Republican signatures are the headline, but the mechanism inside the resolution is what makes this the most significant congressional development since the House vote itself. Start with the language: incapacitation by war crimes and mental collapse. That phrasing is doing two things at once. The war crimes framing is the legal dimension. It ties directly to the 3 counts in the impeachment articles: the Iran war perjury, the Epstein obstruction, the unauthorized strikes. It says that what the president did does not just meet the standard for removal. It meets the standard for incapacitation. It says he is not just guilty of high crimes, he is functionally unable to govern. The mental collapse framing is the 25th Amendment dimension, because Section 4 requires a finding that the president is unable to discharge his duties. And the leaked hotline audio, "The war ruined everything, they got me," combined with the erratic Mar-a-Lago video, combined with the gag order violations, combined with the visible agitation captured on multiple recordings, gives the drafters an evidentiary basis to use the word collapse in a formal document. They are not speculating. They are citing documented behavioral evidence seen by tens of millions of people. And then there is the call for Vance and the cabinet majority by name. A Senate resolution calling on the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment is not just a statement. It is a formal signal from the legislative branch to the executive branch about what Congress expects to happen. And 18 Republican senators signing that signal alongside every Democrat gives it a bipartisan weight that carries constitutional significance. Because the 25th Amendment process, once the declaration is transmitted, requires congressional review. And the congressional review would be conducted by the same body that just introduced a fast-track resolution calling for the invocation. The signal sent by the resolution is also a signal about how that review will go. Now let's talk about the 18 Republican signatures. Romney and Murkowski are the names everyone expected. Romney has been the most visible Republican critic in the Senate for years. Murkowski represents Alaska, a state with a tradition of independence from national party pressure. But the other 16 are the story. Those 16 are members who, until tonight, have been calculating, have been watching, have been doing the political math. And on the night of the impeachment vote, 16 of them decided to put their names on a document calling their president incapacitated by war crimes and mental collapse. That decision tells you that the cascade of events, the impeachment vote, the 25th Amendment invocation by 14 cabinet secretaries, the leaked audio, the erratic video, the oil spike, the riots, the 97% prison odds, all of it pushed them past the threshold they had privately set. And 18 is not the ceiling. It is the number who signed tonight. The resolution is on the Senate floor. Every other Republican senator who has not yet signed is now being asked publicly where they stand. And the political cost of not signing, in the context of 97% conviction odds, in the context of the 25th Amendment already reportedly signed by 14 cabinet secretaries, in the context of a Senate trial just days away, is now higher than the cost of signing. The 18 becomes a floor. And floors in Washington, on nights like this, tend to rise quickly towards ceilings. Now, let's talk about the Mar-a-Lago video. Because the decision to film and release that video on this night in the condition documented on camera is the decision that most clearly illustrates the complete collapse of strategic coherence in whatever remains of the Trump operation. 15 million views. Erratic delivery. The never surrender message delivered in direct violation of a gag order that had already been violated once that night, producing the first contempt warrant. The legal team is gone. The war room is empty. The lawyers who would have advised against releasing this video, who would have explained that every word is being evaluated against the gag order, who would have said the framing and the delivery and the message all create additional legal exposure, those people are gone. And in their absence, a 15 million view video was filmed and released that may have produced a second contempt action before the night is over. The never surrender message, in the context of 97% prison odds and 18 Republican senators calling for incapacitation invocation, is not defiance. It is disconnection. Defiance is a strategic choice, a calculated decision to project strength. What the video shows, based on the reported description of erratic delivery and visible condition, is not a calculated projection. It is a man operating without the strategic framework that would have produced a different decision about whether to release the video at all. And the absence of that strategic framework is itself evidence for the mental collapse characterization that 18 senators just put their names on. Let's look at the 25th Amendment picture. The 80% odds and the 14 cabinet secretaries reportedly already signed creates the most immediate operational timeline of anything we are tracking tonight. The resolution calls on Vance and the cabinet majority. 14 cabinet secretaries are reportedly already signatories. That number exceeds the constitutional majority requirement. The declaration, if transmitted, suspends presidential powers immediately, and the Senate resolution, introduced by 18 Republican senators alongside every Democrat, is the legislative signal that congressional review of the invocation will be supportive rather than reversive. The 25th Amendment process has a congressional review component that can restore the president's powers if Congress votes against the invocation. But 18 Republican senators alongside every Democrat on the Senate floor calling for the invocation is the strongest possible signal about how that vote would go. The 80% predicted odds on 25th Amendment activation represent the market's real-time assessment of all of those factors simultaneously. The 14 reportedly signed cabinet secretaries, the 18 Republican senators on the resolution, the documented behavioral evidence cited in the resolution text, the contempt warrant, the activated arrest protocol, the 97% prison odds sitting on top of all of it, 80% activation odds, with the operational picture as clear as it is tonight, is the market's way of saying the only remaining uncertainty is the specific timing of the transmission, not the outcome. 18 Republican senators calling their president incapacitated by war crimes and mental collapse is the political verdict that makes the legal verdict a formality. Here is what the Senate resolution does that no other single development this week has done. It converts the impeachment question, which has been framed as a legal proceeding with legal standards and legal evidence, into a bipartisan political verdict. Because 18 Republican senators signing a document calling their president incapacitated is not a legal action. It is a political action. It is a formal statement by members of the president's own party that they have assessed his conduct, his decisions, his public behavior, and concluded that he is unable to discharge the duties of the office. And political verdicts rendered by members of the president's own party carry a different weight than legal proceedings. Legal proceedings can be characterized as partisan attacks. They can be described as deep state operations. They can be framed through a witch hunt narrative. But 18 Republican senators, Romney, Murkowski, and 16 others, cannot be framed as Democrats making a partisan attack. They are Republicans making a Republican judgment about a Republican president in a formal document on the Senate floor. That document cannot be reframed. It is what it is, and what it is the political confirmation of the legal verdict that the House rendered at 8:45. The Never Surrender video generating potential second contempt exposure on the night of the first contempt warrant illustrates the complete strategic collapse of the operation. The first contempt warrant issued in response to the Truth Social gag order violation was the legal consequence of a decision made without functional legal counsel. The lawyers had fled, the war room was empty, the gag order was in effect, the violation was made, the warrant was issued. That sequence, decision without counsel, violation, consequence, is the pattern of an operation that has lost its ability to function strategically. The Never Surrender video, filmed and released on the same night, is the same pattern repeating within hours. A video filmed in apparent violation of the same gag order, released to 15 million viewers in erratic condition, without the legal counsel that would have reviewed the content against the order before release. On the night that 18 Republican senators called the delivery erratic and the condition collapsed in a formal Senate document. The video is simultaneously evidence for the resolution's mental collapse characterization and potential evidence for a second contempt action. It is self-defeating on multiple levels simultaneously, and it was released anyway because the strategic framework that would have prevented it is gone. 97% prison odds combined with 80% 25th Amendment activation and a fast-track Senate resolution means the weekend does not begin before this presidency ends. Here is the honest timeline assessment based on everything we are tracking right now. The Senate trial is scheduled for days away. The 25th Amendment declaration, if 14 cabinet secretaries are indeed signed and ready to transmit, can be activated before the trial begins. The contempt warrant is already issued. The arrest protocol is activated. The marshals are staged. The resolution is on the Senate floor. The trial is the formal institutional conclusion of the legislative removal track. But the 25th Amendment, if transmitted before the trial, produces an immediate operational consequence that does not wait. Presidential powers are suspended upon transmission. Removal is operative pending congressional review. And the congressional review, signaled by 18 Republican senators alongside every Democrat on the fast-track resolution, is not going to reverse the invocation. The 80% activation odds are the market's assessment that transmission is coming before the trial, possibly before the weekend. Here's the complete picture of where we are right now. A fast-track Senate resolution, 18 Republican signatories, Schumer, Romney, Murkowski, 16 others, citing incapacitation by war crimes and mental collapse, calling on Vance and the cabinet majority to declare the president unfit, the resolution text citing Iran perjury, Epstein obstruction, $12.3 billion in unauthorized strikes, 14 cabinet secretaries reportedly already signed on the 25th Amendment declaration, 25th Amendment odds at 80%, an erratic Mar-a-Lago Never Surrender video with 15 million views, potentially generating second contempt exposure, the first contempt warrant already issued from the Truth Social gag order violation, D.C. marshals staged outside the White House, arrest protocol activated, Senate trial days away, 97% federal prison odds, oil at $115 a barrel, gas riots at $7.15, 75,000 protesters in the streets, National Guard engaged, China trip canceled, carriers stranded, NATO operationally divorced, lawyers fled, war room empty, Mar-a-Lago locked down, leaked hotline audio, slurring on camera, war ruined everything, House impeachment locked into the permanent congressional record. The Senate resolution is on the floor. The 25th Amendment declaration is reportedly ready to transmit. The marshals are outside. The trial is days away. The odds are 97%. And 18 Republican senators just called their own president incapacitated. The Never Surrender video has 15 million views, and the man who filmed it has a 97% probability of federal custody attached to his name. The weekend is coming. The presidency is not going to make it there intact.